In this video, we're going to be looking at postural stabilization that we use in Wing Chun, but it's something that you can use in your everyday life as well, because what it does is it promotes a very good, relaxed and stabilized posture, which is going to lead to efficient and effective movement. But before we get into it, a quick intro. My name is Nima and I'm the founder of Mindful Wing Chun here in Hong Kong. And to help with today's video, this is one of our instructors, Svea. Svea. At our school here, we love teaching people of all ages and types about the many benefits of this deceptively powerful practice. So, if you're interested in Wing Chun, then you've come to the right place, because that's what we love to talk about.
But before we do, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.
What she said. All right, so for today's video, we're going to start by looking at two things. First, the relationship of the spine with the shoulders, ribs, and pelvis. And secondly, how we can utilize correct breathing to be able to activate the core and interconnect the upper and lower halves. So first of all, with the spine. Now, in Wing Chun, there are a lot of people who do this posterior tilted pelvis, where they're tucking their pelvis under like this, right? Now, if we look at the spine in relation to that, so when the pelvis is not in neutral, so as Svea tucks her pelvis forward like this, where it fully straightens a lumbar curve, as you do it more to make it very obvious. Yeah. So what that does, that's going to have an effect in the rest of the body. And for her to keep the rest of it straight, she has to use a lot of effort, a lot of muscular effort. Usually what happens, so if you stop doing that, if you don't do that now, yeah, usually what happens is if we don't use that extra effort to keep the back straight, when we go like this, the body goes in a kyphotic. So if you just be sort of floppy, don't think upright. Yeah, and you tuck it. Yeah, usually this happens. You see now, because the spine works as one unit, there are three curves. So when you start to take this out of balance, when the lumbar curve, the lower back goes out of balance, we get this kyphotic posture where the mid-spine, the thoracic spine is more curved. And then as a result, the neck has to counter that by, let's get you out of that so it's comfortable. And the neck has to counter it by doing something like this. So some people will stand like that. Most people in Wing Chun, they stand like that. The other extreme is where the butt is sticking out. And when that happens, in the same way, if you're not upright, if you don't do it first, as you do that, you see how her head tilts back and the chest, the rib cage starts to flare out. So by having the pelvis in neutral, and what's neutral? So neutral is where we have the natural lumbar curve. So we have the natural lower back curve. And in terms of the ribs, we don't have the ribs puffed out. So if you puff out your chest, yeah, and you see what that does from nothing to do again, you see how that lumbar curve is more pronounced when she puffs out her chest. This is again, a misunderstanding. This is sort of the military straightening of the posture, when people are like, okay, think tall, think upright. A lot of people go like this, where they're pushing off the floor, sticking their butt out and chesting up like that. Now, this is not what we want to do. It's not really stable. And later on in the video, we'll show how we can test the effortless stability of this. We've got to look for something that we're able to effortlessly retain throughout our daily life. If it's something like held so much effort, then it looks robotic and it's not sustainable. So one thing we say here in Wing Chun is to feel your tailbone. So if you touch your tailbone here, so right at the bottom of the last end bit of the spine, right there. And we want to align that to, if you imagine where the spine ends, so the top of the head, not the actual crown here, but just a little bit further back. This is where her spine would end there. So we want to align the tailbone to the top here so that we get a very straight feeling in that way. Now, when we do that, if you keep your finger there, but now you tilt your pelvis forward like that, more. See, now the tailbone is gone behind the top of the spine. And if you stick the butt out, now it's gone more in front towards me. So what we want to do now, if you go to neutral pelvis again, and the chest is very relaxed, the upper back is very relaxed, then now we have the three parts of the spine all in neutral. And the last thing we want to do with the spine, once we get in this position, is we have the feeling of a very light idea of rising up. So if you imagine the gravity's compressing this spine constantly, it's compressing it. And with this idea, once we get the alignment, with this very light idea of rising up through that straightness that we feel from the tail to the crown, once we get that idea of rising up, and as we release, we start to decompress the spine itself. So we take the pressure off the spine. So very important that the pelvis is not this way, posterior tilted or anterior tilted, you know, because as we said, it's going to affect the whole spine. Very important that the chest is not caved in like that, where we got the kyphotic posture at the back, nor is it puffed out. So if we think about in a good posture, so as Svea does it again, in a good posture, you see that the top ribs are nice and upright, but the bottom ribs, the bottom few ribs are relaxed down. So whereas compared with me, if I straighten up, so you keep doing what you're doing so they see the contrast. If I do this, now you can see now all these ribs from here are up as well as this. So what we want is for these to be released, this to be up, this to have the lumbar curve, and the pelvis is in neutral, and we're thinking that tail to crown alignment and rising up. So that's the first thing, the position of the spine. Of course, we can go into detail about the feet. For the feet, just have it so the weight is evenly distributed, not too much on your heel, not too much on the ball of the feet. Really feel the joints of the feet and everything stacked nicely above it, because if you're not balanced down there, it's going to be very hard to effortlessly balance things up the top here. But there's a lot of details with the alignment of here. Maybe that's for another video. For now, just keeping in mind what we said about the spine. Now, once we got this sort of rather effortless upright posture, we're going to check the activity of the midsection. So if we get, as you're standing like that, if you take a deep breath in, yeah, so you see us just taking a deep, and if you do a faster breath, big inhale, yeah. As you can see, the way you breathe was quite nice. What I was looking for is, if I do it incorrectly, someone says, okay, Nima, take a deep breath in. If I go like that, you see, this is what we call chest breathing. This means that this area is not working in unison. This area meaning the diaphragm, the pelvic floor, and also the abdominal wall. They're not working in unison. And as a result, whether they're floppy or they're inactive, there's some inactivity, some tension in other places, and that therefore they can't do their job properly and have movement in a way that allows the breath to be what we can call 3D breathing, or some people call it 360 breathing. What does that mean, 3D breathing? So if we put the hand, and this is you can do by yourself, you can put your hand on the side here, and then wait for the natural rhythm of the breath. Don't try to force your breath into these areas. Just wait for the natural rhythm of the breath. So observe and see where your breath is reaching. If that's too difficult, we can regress one stage and see if you can put your hand on your belly, around the belly button. And then we can see as we breathe, if we have movement in this area. If you're good, if you can do that, and let's say in yoga, a lot of people in yoga classes, they say, breathe from the belly, right? Which is correct, but not if it's only this area, not if it's just here. That's not 3D. What we're looking for is 3D breathing. So once you got that one, if you put your hands on the side, now that you've felt your breath can reach the front of your belly, see if you can also reach the sides of the ribs and the back of the ribs as well. And that's going to maybe take a couple of breaths for you to just let go. And what you will find is it's through releasing and allowing the breath to get there rather than pushing it there. It's through letting go and subtracting in terms of muscular effort that you allow movement to happen in that area. The breath wants to get there if you allow it, if you release, and if things are nicely aligned. And then if you have a partner, you can just ask your partner to do that as well. It's a little bit easier because then you can relax your shoulder down. So I can hold here. Yeah, the breath is clearly reaching on both sides. Now the hardest part is this area, so the sacrum. So just above the sacrum, the lower back and the sacrum, that's the hardest part, obviously because it's got the most connective tissues. There's a lot of fascia, there's a lot of stuff there. Compared to the front, it's just the organs, and there's a lot more space. So there will be more movement here. But majority of the people don't have movement here. So if I press here and we just wait for the natural rhythm, I can feel some movement happening. Now that means for Svea now, because the breath is reaching here, there is that postural alignment that we have, and the breath is 3D. Now, if I put one hand, so now I'm going to check the stability of the whole thing. There's sort of inter-abdominal pressure, as they call it, which stabilizes the body. Because especially the diaphragm's used for breathing, but one of diaphragm, that umbrella muscle up here, one of its main functions, one of its secondary functions, is to hold the posture upright. But it's not just the diaphragm, it's also, as we said, the pelvic floor and the abdominal wall. What you will probably find here, as you're doing this, Svea, what you'll probably find is that the pelvic floor is slightly active as well. So, and my teacher used to say, that's how he would say Tai Gong. Tai Gong in Chinese, in Cantonese, can be translated directly to draw up from the anus area, or, which activates the pelvic floor. But it's like he would say, imagine you're stopping yourself from doing a number 2. But then my question in the early days was like, do I really need to go to the toilet? How much effort am I using was unclear. That's why I think this using this breath as a tool could be helpful for some of you to understand the subtlety of the activation of the pelvic floor, diaphragm, and the abdominal wall. So now that she's here, if I was to put one hand on the stomach and one hand on the upper back, and I'm going to try to bend her body forward. Yeah, I'm actually pushing really, really hard there, but you see the amount, how much, was it very hard? Not much effort. Not much effort. If you stand normally, just normally, so it's inactive, yeah. If I move, yeah. So then she would have to use different localized muscle groups rather than that sort of holistic, activated, stabilized posture. Okay. The harder, if this is too easy for you, then the harder version would be if you do it again. So relaxing. So even the glutes, their hamstrings, nice and soft. Everything is nice and aligned. Their knees are a little bit bent, so just springy. It's not you're sitting in the stance, but the knees are springy. We've got this uprightness. The harder version would be this way, because now I'm just going to apply force right onto the lumbar curve and try to bend. Yeah, this is a bit harder, but still she's quite stable. At higher levels, we can bring that feeling of stabilization. So if you do it with me, Svea, if you hold one hand, maybe this hand here and the other hand on the side of the head here. Yeah. So usually as you do it, it's like that, and I'm strong. Obviously, it's not that impressive because you would think I'm stronger than her anyway, but still the neck is not very powerful compared to her clamping force like that. So compared to if I'm just standing here, but same thing. So I have that tail I'll talk through it, tail to the crown alignment. I'm rising up through it, not bracing at the contact points, just rising up and allowing that if you bend hard, hold strong. Keep going. And at that point, I can still actually go again. So not only do we have stability, but we have mobility under the pressure, the incoming pressure as well. This is a prerequisite, let's say, to being able to bring power out and utilize your mass into the limbs. One thing I will add, just to finish it off with this breathing. Master Choi used to say, like, when we're doing Silum Tao, when we're doing Wing Chun, we allow the breathing, because a lot of other internal arts, they use the breath consciously. They breathe in yoga, in Qigong, Tai Chi. They use their breathing, according to my understanding, a lot. They guide their breath. Whereas, so when I asked Master Choi, he said, no, for us, we just breathe, we just let the breath be natural. But he did say that when you are in that state, when you're in that, what we call the Lim Tao state, the breath is working diaphragmatically and naturally the way it should, the same way that a baby breathes, which is the 3D. You see a baby sleeping, you see this whole area, a 1-year-old sleeping, you see this areas, everything's mobile with each breath. And this doesn't mean for the ones of you that practice Wing Chun that there's yet another thing to add to your practice that you're doing of, okay, now I've got to focus on my breath as well. No. What I usually share with the students here is you can use it as a signpost. So you're doing what you're doing in your practice, whatever it is that you're doing in your movements, but every now and then you can just check in with the natural rhythm of the breath, not force it. You check in with it and go, oh yeah, I can feel some movement in my in my sacrum or in the sides. Okay, then you know that there is enough activity going on here. And ultimately, we just want to decrease the effort, the mental and the physical effort. We want to subtract, so that later on we can do it not only in this aligned posture, we can do it from any shape, any position, and as we go throughout our daily life as well. So it becomes the way that we're naturally moving. Now, first, we start by getting the feeling as a reference. Okay, we know what that feeling is, and then from there we can slowly, let it seep into our daily life as well. Yeah? Anything you would like to add? Anything you... All good? All good. Excellent. Cheers, guys. Try it out and let us know how you go. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. And if you did, then please go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and switch on all the notifications so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Also, any questions, comments, opinions, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below, and I'll be sure to respond. Now, to keep the momentum of this topic going, you can click up here and to watch the next video, which is on decompressing the spine, opening up the spine as we call it, which promotes both health and helps to produce more effortless power. I'll see you there.